And we're live. Welcome. Welcome everyone to the Founders Call. It is the August the 22nd, 2024. I'm going to get kick-started here in just a moment. Get some people to join. And we'll get going. Awesome. Now, I've been having on and off troubles with this live stream over the last couple of months. I've tried new softwares, new platforms, new all sorts. It doesn't seem to matter what happens. I always sometimes have problems. Sometimes it goes smooth. So bear with me. If it does drop out, I will be back on. Otherwise, we'll go perfectly. So for those of you that are new here, this is the Founders Call. It is our push for transparency in what is a relatively untransparent industry, or just in investments in general. There's, it's kind of like, seeing how the sausage is made, if you will. It's, you see companies that want to do developments, and then you see companies that have done developments, and you never see the in-between. You never get to see what actually happens day to day, the struggles they go through, the wins they have, the losses they have, what they overcome, what it entails. Well, I personally have never seen that. And when I was coming up through my investment career, it's something that I always yearned for as an investor. Is I wanted more information, I wanted to learn, and I wanted to be involved from a standpoint that I wanted to grow. I was never and have never been the the male version of a Karen where I want all the updates so that I can get involved and be a nuisance. But I wanted the information purely so that I could learn and understand why things were going right, and how I can replicate those, and understand why certain hurdles were being hit, and how I can avoid those for myself in the future. And so that is the goal of Founders Call. I do this every 2 weeks at Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you're on the East Coast, I believe that is 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And these usually go for around 15 to 20 minutes. So let's dig in. We're going to go over today 6 things: general updates of the company as a whole, property developments, which is obviously at the property level, what's happened over the last 14 days, what's happening over the next 14 days, the thoughts of the week, which is an exciting one this week, and then also any opportunities that we have. So I've got 3 goals of the Founders Call. The first is that you have a clear understanding of our current situation by the time that this 15, 20 minutes is over. The second is that you have learned something about international developments in the process. And the third is that I hope that we can build a slither more trust with you than we had before that you watched, in hopes that some point down the road, we do some business together, we do some deals, whatever that might look like. So who are we? Nova Haus is a team of 4 individuals. Martin Papp on the far left here. Myself, Tyler Jordan. This is Derek and Lee Rush. And this is Daniel Calvosa. Now, between all of us, we've developed tens of millions in personal real estate across 8 countries. We've had our hand in almost 10 billion in developments, including giga projects, founded and scaled the Chinese tea company to over 400 locations. We've hosted 47 investors from 7 different countries for investor retreats. And we have done so much of this from over 40 countries, staying in and even sometimes living in short-term rental properties. So we know a thing or two about short-term rentals and about managing projects in different parts of the world. And so now with the Nova Haus, we've come together, created this offering of the Nova Haus, and we now build, operate, and exit luxury rentals in Costa Rica. And our fund is strictly for accredited investors. So, all right. First one here is general updates. We've got a lot to go over, but I'm going to try and keep it short. The first one is Great Point Capital dinner in San Clemente last night. I headed to I think it's a place called South of Nick's, at a restaurant in San Clemente, and met with the Great Point Capital team, as well as some of their advisors and clients and sponsors as well. It was a fantastic event. Great Point is someone that we are in communications with, in going through due diligence with right now, to become one of their sponsors that their advisors and their reps are able to offer to their clients. So it was fantastic to meet more of the Great Point team in person, especially at home, if you will, rather than at events or on Zoom calls or whatever it might be. So fantastic event, really great people, and really, really enjoyed the dinner last night. And also the sponsors' presentations was great. Due diligence, for those of you that have been following along, this has been going on since around May time. So May, June, July, we're coming on 3.5 months now, three months-ish. That is projected to be distributed to firms on Monday, which is exciting. The light is at the end of the tunnel now. We're here. So there's 2 reports that get done. There is a program and a sponsor report. The program report is projected to be distributed on Monday, and then the sponsor report projected for the end of next week. But there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We're excited. The other one here is the Buttonwood Conference, which we went to the other week, about 2 weeks ago, and fantastic event. Really, really. It was so awesome. The format was great. The people were great. It was intimate. There was, you got to ask questions. There was small rooms. It was very, I guess just the word is intimate, which was great. And it's also quite rare for a conference. So super well run, and something that we really enjoyed and got a lot of value out of ourselves as well. And so since that event, we've had a ton of follow-up calls with a lot of the attendees, a lot of the advisors, a lot of the firms. We've also had a call with Buttonwood themselves to give us feedback from what they discussed with other advisors and reps at the conference in the closed door sessions. And it was fantastic. We had very minimal negative feedback, if any, from any of the advisors or the reps, and even Buttonwood themselves didn't have too much, which was great. And so we learned a few things. One is that we got a lot of interest. We had about 22 or 23 parties interested. I think their historical high was 25. So we're definitely up there on the upper scale of that, which is fantastic. It's good to know that you're getting that interest and you're sparking people's curiosity to actually want to learn more, rather than, you can have a really sexy product, but if there's no substance to it, you're not going to get any interest. So it's nice to have that amount of interest, to know that we really have something, and what we believe in and what our life mission is also resonating, with so many other people. It's really nice. We got a lot of good feedback in regards to why people do and do not like our product, which was great. Some of the reasons were, some of the things we needed to fix up, and also why they liked it and whatnot was RIA compensation. So when there's an offering that goes out to broker dealers, they earn a certain percentage commission on that offering. Whereas if it goes through an RIA, they don't earn that commission, but you then have to reallocate that percentage commission so that they are getting a benefit as well, which is something that we learned very quickly, and it currently got here. We're already currently in the PPM right now and updating that as well. Overseas due diligence capabilities is something that also came up. Some people are just so unfamiliar with Costa Rica that they don't know where to start in terms of due diligence, and they also don't even want to start. So that was something that we have addressed since day one. Is people have this notion that once you step across a border, the whole world changes, and all of a sudden you're investing in Mars, and it couldn't be further from the truth. However, it is something that it just is the way that it is. For us, it's an education piece. We need to find a way to better educate people who have not done overseas developments or investments as to how similar it really is investing in other countries versus just the US. And then the big one, which is really hard to actually educate on, is that America is, for us, having done all that we've done in all these countries around the world and developments here, there, and everywhere, and huge projects, small projects, kind of everything. America for us is the hardest and most risky country that we've ever developed in. The costs are the highest, the permits are the longest, getting things through council and the cities, all the hardest and most costly. Your margins, once you have something up and running, the slimmest out of everywhere that we've built. It just is it doesn't make sense. And, we avoid America at all costs. I mean, even once you do have something up and running, if you do get there, the government comes in and shuts down short-term rentals, like there's no tomorrow. Like, think about if you've got short-term rentals in Palm Springs or Dallas or even New York, where, they've just started, absolutely locking everything down and banning short-term rentals in these places, that's your livelihood. So it's hard because it's home, and it's home for Americans, and we tend to back what is our home. Because not only is it our investment home, but it's also our emotional home and our physical home. So, we have a bias towards it, but it's the educational piece of, it is fantastic. It's a great place, but it's also very risky in terms of investments. And, there's so many other places in the world that are easier, better, more profitable, and so much more fruitful out there from an investment perspective. And then the other part of it is background on non-US partners, which is something that we hadn't really come across yet, but tended to come across a little bit at this event. Was two of our managing partners are in Costa Rica for that boots on the ground experience of running the projects and really digging in and managing the things, managing projects on the ground. But because they're not US citizens, it's hard to do those Social Security background checks. So that's something that we also need to overcome and provide more detail and more checks and more information as well. So these are fantastic things that we're learning, things that otherwise we wouldn't know if we're not going to these events, we're not speaking with these people, we're not getting this feedback, and so this is super valuable for us. Big one here, and I'm sort of being a little bit vague about it because I'm not actually sure yet what the legalities are around sharing direct information around these agreements. But we have officially signed our first selling agreement with a firm out of the Midwest, which is really exciting. We have been working at getting selling agreements for close to 6 months now, putting everything in place, getting things ready, really pushing forward to get to this point. And it's so exciting now that, not only have we signed our first selling agreement, but we have more in the pipeline that are lined up, that are ready to go. They're wanting to move forward. They're just waiting on, the third-party report, and we're good to go. So it's exciting to actually start, seeing things progress and seeing these steps taken forward. Because the last couple of months has felt like, one step forward, 5 steps back, one step forward, 5 steps back. And all of a sudden you look up and you're like, oh, we're here, we're doing it. It's crunch time. It's actually happening. So it's really nice. The privileged problems that come with that. And I have an obsession with privileged problems. It's a privileged problem is something where you hope and you dream and you want something. And then when you get it, it comes with its own set of problems. And we have to remind ourselves that those are the problems that we wished for and dreamt for. It's kind of like, oh, I wish one day I can own a Ferrari or a Rolls Royce. And, 10 years later, you get to that point and you get that Rolls Royce or that Ferrari. And then all of a sudden you realize that the gas that it costs to actually run that Ferrari and the insurance costs is, $50,000 a year. And you're like, oh, this is the worst. But you've got to stop and think, these are the problems that I wish to have. And that's all that life is, right? Where we just want to continually create bigger and better problems in our lives. And so that is also one that I'm really excited about with these selling agreements, is that we've now started selling. We've now started signing selling agreements. Wow, that's a tongue twister. Which comes with its own problems, which is great. Is now we're building out due diligence kits and sales kits and having to reach out to all of the reps and educate the reps on things. We're having to get fund admin in place. We're having to get all the escrow and everything set up. It's all happening. And to give a little bit of an idea, sort of a breakdown, if you will, of the way that this works. I wish this workflow was shown to me 6 months ago. Life would have been so much easier, but instead it wasn't. Anyway, so the way that it works is the Nova House is here. We then we're trying to sign selling agreements and RA agreements with firms, so registered investment advisory firms and also broker-dealer firms. Now, each of these firms then have a list of reps and advisors that work for them. And so each of those reps and advisors have a multitude of clients each, which they can, they manage their money, or they advise them on their money decisions, or whatever it might be. But they can only advise them on the products that their firm has approved. So to give an example, let's say that you're listening here and your mom and your dad's name is Susie and Jeff. And so Susie and Jeff, they have $1 million, and they're like, well, I don't know what to do with it. So they go to an advisor, a wealth advisor, financial advisor, whatever it might be. And they say, I've got $1 million. I want to, do something with my money. Now, to cut a long story short, that advisor might say, hey, I also think that you might want to have some allocation of that capital to real estate. These are the real estate options that we have. And it might be ABC funds, direct real estate investments, or whatever it might be. And then also the Nova House. And so that client then says, oh, the Nova House, that seems really cool. And, this is what we found on the Nova House. This is what we know about them. This is all the information and the due diligence on them. Would you like to allocate capital? And they say, yes, I'd love to put in, 150,000. And so then that comes up to us, and, so the cycle continues. So I hope that gives a little bit of an overview and an understanding of the way that this space works. So for us, it's, we find our goal is to sell and to get agreements with these firms. And then once we do, we then have to go along and we have to have calls with webinars, sales kits, due diligence kits, everything, and educate these reps and advisors on our product, so that they can, be knowledgeable and accurate when discussing it with their clients. I made that real quick just because, again, as I said, I just wish something was broken down that simply for me when I got into this. So yes. Okay. Moving on. Property development is very light right now. It has been for the previous couple of weeks. We're kind of in a little bit of a plateau with just permits at the moment. So we got our water permit, I believe 2 weeks ago now. Now we're just waiting on the municipality approval, and we start moving some earth, which is great. Second one here is we have started getting designs and plans for the Playa Grande property, otherwise known as Casa Rush. And we will be starting to build out materials for Casa Rush in the background. However, fundraising is a priority. So the property in Playa Grande, Casa Rush, will be, I believe, 9 bedrooms for the main property, with 4 villas behind it. Each of those 1 and 2 bedroom property, 1 and 2 bedroom villas. So there will be a lot more to come on this. I just wanted to give a little bit of a sneak peek, a little bit of a teaser here, but there will be a lot more to come on this as we go, and particularly as we fundraise. Everything is kind of done as it needs to be. No great giant rush, but then as that capital starts trickling in and you get closer and closer to actually hitting milestones, things pick up real quick, and you can start really pushing things through. So just dripping a little bit of a teaser here that things are working on the background for these next few properties. So the last 14 days, obviously the Buttonwood the Buttonwood conference was fantastic, and we have had multiple conversations that have been leading to agreements and due diligence processes with several firms, which is really exciting. We had and hosted an RIA/broker-dealer exclusive webinar also last week, which was a great success. We were expecting maybe 5 to 10 people at most, and we had 35 people show up. We had so many questions. We had good feedback. We had multiple calls booked from it. We had people that are wanting to get in and do their due diligence after it. It was a great success. So we're going to actually start, replicating those webinars potentially on a monthly basis, which is fantastic. If you weren't an RIA or a broker dealer that was at that, hang tight for 2 minutes. I've got some more news coming up. And if you're just an accredited investor and you're not an RIA or a broker dealer, also got some. Financial modeling is completed at both the property and the fund level, as well as the investor dinner in Orange County. So over the next 14 days, we're looking to get this due diligence report completed and sent out to all interested parties. That is just such a huge piece of the puzzle for us right now. It seems like every single conversation we're having and every discussion and almost everything that we're doing in this space, it tends to just lead to a head of, where's your due diligence report? Where's that third-party report? When can I get my hands on that? And so I'm very looking forward to unlocking that and, being able to proceed. Granted that it's a good report, but yes, very much looking forward to at least getting an answer on that. We're currently all in on fundraising and putting the puzzle pieces together to facilitate this momentum. This is such a vital moment for us, and we've got so many things going on. It is just full steam ahead, 100 miles an hour right now. Very little sleep and a whole lot of doing everything. We're all wearing a lot of hats right now, which is great. Running on adrenaline and making sure that everything's in place. If you are just an individual accredited investor, or somebody who is an accredited investor who would be interested in learning about the Nova House, we are doing on August the 27th, we are hosting a webinar. It is a Zoom webinar, but we do have the event also on LinkedIn that you can actually click to attend and then jump into the Zoom. It is a complete non-committal. You don't have to talk. You don't have to be on video. You don't have to do anything. You can just sit in the background and listen if you wish. But that'll be August the 27th. As I said, that was a fantastic one for RAs and BDs. But this webinar will be strictly for accredited individual investors, who are looking for some opportunities out there. Outside of that, Martin is also on the Master Your Millions podcast next week, and then that will drop in a few weeks, talking on the Nova House and everything that it is. Thought of the week. Okay, let's ruffle some feathers. Move fast, break things. Famously quoted by Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook. Now, I've been doing a lot of thinking on move fast, break things and the way that humans operate and particularly businesses operate. I am very heavily in the move fast, break things category my whole life. However, I definitely battle with it a lot because you move fast, it feels good. You break things, it feels bad. And so you move fast, you feel good, and then you're like, yeah, I'm gonna do this forever, and then you break things, and you're like, I probably shouldn't be doing this, and you then battle with maybe moving slow and making it perfect. And so I'm constantly relearning this lesson, constantly, and it's almost embarrassing at this point. I really need to just say, okay, I get it, lesson learned. I know now moving forward, but here's the lesson. Both move fast, break shit, and move slow, make it perfect. They both have their pros and cons, and they both have their time and place. And I truly believe that, there are certain situations in life where you need to move fast and break things. And then there are certain situations in life where you need to move slow and you need to make it perfect. And I think that it's this constant line between, finding what works and finding that balance for the situation that you're in. However, a lesson that I am constantly learning is that the move slow, make it perfect model, in my experience, tends to incur more risk than the move fast, break shit model. And it's purely because the evolution and growth of business and life and relationships and whatever it might be, it simply outpaces you if you go slow enough. And if you really are a perfectionist, you will go slow enough. And because you're going this slow and you're trying to make everything perfect and things are still evolving, they actually outpace you. So you kind of get stuck in this loop of you learn a new thing, you adapt your model, and you make it perfect, and you spend all this time and all this money and all this effort and all this energy to make it perfect. You get ready to launch it. And then right as you get ready to launch it, you're like, oh, the landscape's changed. And so you're like, okay, well, let's just tweak that. So then you start again and you tweak it to the new thing, and then you adapt your model to the new thing. You spend all this time and energy and money and effort to make it right. And then you look up and you're like, the landscape's changed again. God damn, like, let's just we just need to get this going. And so you start again and you adapt to the new thing and you add it in, and you spend all this time and money and energy, effort, and you make it right, and you get everything perfect. You get all your ducks in a row. You set all the dominoes up, and then right when you got to push the dominoes, you're like, the landscape's changed again. And so you get stuck in that loop, or at least I get stuck in that loop. And the experiences that I've had with everyone that I've worked with that goes through the move slow, make it perfect model, and that you tend to never be able to get out of that loop, or you always feel like you're behind, and it's because you are. And so the point of this is, there is a time and place to move slow and make it perfect. And there is a time and place to move fast and break things. And my experience is that I would rather incur the risks of breaking things than the constant unfulfillment, regret, and sheer just terrible feelings of never actually being ready, because the landscape always outpaces you. And I think that in itself incurs a huge risk, and one that I don't want to take. I hope that helps you in some way, shape, or form, whether it's your work, your life, your business, your relationships, your investments, whatever it might be. So the last one here is opportunities at the Nova House. If you are an individual accredited investor and you are interested in learning about the Nova House, you can go to our investor portal, which there is a link, I believe, on our website, and there's also potentially a link in my LinkedIn. If you've got all your due diligence materials there, you've got everything that you can find right there on our investor portal. If you would like to then speak to me or a member of the team, there is options in there to do that. And if you think, you know what, he sounds funny, I don't really know what he says, talks really fast, I don't want to deal with him, I just want to get involved, you can actually go through this whole process from start to finish in about 4.5 minutes on the cash flow portal here. All the way through to actually wiring that check, going through due diligence, signing the documents, everything that you need. So that's one. Second is, if you do want to chat and you want to hang out and you want to get to know me and go back and forth on really pulling apart the deal on a call, there is a book an appointment button in my profile on LinkedIn. Click that button. You can schedule an appointment in my calendar, and I will show up and we can chat. And then lastly, if you don't want to do either of those two things and you want to just join a webinar and learn about us, and you don't want to talk to me, but you don't want to do your own due diligence, you want us to do it without talking to it, without directly talking to us, you can just join one of our webinars on LinkedIn. They happen every month, usually twice a month. And if you can't find it, DM me and I'll send you a link. But we're posting about them every 2 to 3 days at this point with reminders and things like that. Outside of that, I hope you be great. I hope this weekend is delightful for you. I hope you get things done. I hope that you move fast and break as little amount as you can. But I hope that you have a fantastic week ahead, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Be great.